Should be going live. So welcome everyone to tonight's live stream. You might have seen the video I just posted before about signs of one person being toxic, when we wonder if we did anything to make them toxic. If you haven't watched that video, I recommend you watch it, because I think there's some rather interesting examples there and some tools that I used with a client who was wondering if his partner had actually gone crazy because of something that he did. Now, when I work with people, a common thing that comes up is helping people reframe reality helps them see much more clearly. What I mean by a reframe is you can view things from a certain angle, and one angle usually is not enough to see things quite as clearly as they could be. So it's a bit like looking at a house from one angle. Yes, you can see something, but if you look from other angles, you have a much broader, a much more complete view of the house. So something we notice is it's often easy to get caught up inside somebody else's narrative. And of course the narrative makes sense from one point of view, but if we only have one point of view, then we're missing out on quite a few other important aspects of information. So some of the reframes I do help people move away from toxic relationships, and they can also be helping people stay away from toxic relationships. I'd like to be sharing that with you. Let me know, by the way, I can't tell if the video is a bit jumpy. I see on another screen it might be a little bit jumpy. Let me try switching. Amended. There's a scene inside Soul, which is when, let me see. I'll tell you the basic story. Basic story is there's a very likable jazz musician who is played by Jamie Foxx. And this jazz musician is having a bit of a struggle, as he's pretty much just a music teacher. So he likes to view himself as a jazz musician, but he's not getting the gigs, he's not getting the concerts, so he's dreaming of a life that he's not getting. And just as he is about to get the life that he dreams of, what happens is that he has an accident and he dies. And then his soul is getting ready to move on to oh yeah, hi. His soul is getting ready to move on to the afterlife, and he goes, no, this is not okay. I can't move on to the afterlife because I'm not ready. I've got too many things I need to be doing here, and therefore I need to stay. I need to be living through all of the things that I should be experiencing. So he fights to come back. And before he comes back, there's a moment that I think is really, really moving, where he views like glimpses of his life. And the glimpse of his life is like him eating a dinner alone. It's him going to auditions and getting rejected. It's sort of the memories. And there's also like a small pedestal with some cheap cologne and some cheap deodorant. And that is, you know, the thing that, well, it's the experience he had. It is the exhibit, the gallery of the experience of his life. And of course he says, well, it's not what I want. But I think it's really important to remember that what we're doing here, and that's one of the reframes, we're curating an experience for ourselves. And of course the experience involves other people, and it also involves us. And when we think of it, you know, just step back and think, when we pass on and we look back, what experience do we want to have had in terms of, well, the fragrances that we wore, in terms of the food that we ate, the people we spent time with? Do we want to spend time with people who energize us, people who lift us up, people who support us, people who are happy for us when things are working out? Or do we want to spend time with people who drain us, who make everything worse? What kind of music do we want to have listened to? And it's just something, you know, it comes from my age, but that boggles my mind. Which is, so if you're younger, you don't know this. If you're, you know, in your 40s, maybe even 30s, you'll remember going to record stores and flipping through CDs to see if they had the one CD you were looking for. You'll remember seeing the collection of Beatles CDs or Beach Boys or any of the, you know, the classics of rock, and thinking, well, I'm not going to listen to all of that. I'm not going to spend however much it was, like the equivalent today of $30 on one CD. So I'm not going to be spending $300 to buy 10 CDs of the Beatles. It's too much, and I've got other priorities, and I don't have the budget. And back then, there was much less pocket money going around. But just imagine, just think of this. Us today, we can have access to pretty much any track of music ever recorded and use that to create the soundtrack of our life. You can sit down, you can listen to the Beatles in mind-blowingly high quality and imagine what it was like being in the room with John, Paul, Ringo and George when they were recording. You can even watch the documentary that came out recently. It's a mind-blowing documentary. I just saw bits of it. And it was really moving to see that, just to think, these were real people. You can see them creating. You can relate to them because you're probably older than they were back then. And just think, all of these amazing things that happened, they're bringing something beautiful to our experience. And yeah, I see that, been thinking, Venita, you've been thinking about this a lot. Exactly, designing the life based on well, the value. What do we want out of it? What are our values? What experience do we want? What kind of food do we want to eat? I was thinking about that recently. I was in Venice, and I hadn't been to Venice since I was 15, and I was just so grateful to have been able to go back there, because the first time I was there, of course, I was young and everything was very, very immediate. It was an amazing experience, very immediate, so I didn't have the distance to take it in. It's a weird thing because the more we become aware of it, the more distance there is, so it doesn't have the same impact. And at the same time, instead of being full of noise and, anxiety, there's a lot of gratitude of Venice is a mind-blowing place. It's so beautiful. I'm so lucky to have been able to see it. And, then we can think of the entire world. What is the experience we want from it? Where do we want to have traveled? What experience do we want to have had from this life? I'm thinking about the music, if there's anything else. Okay, before I get into the next bit, think of this about music. Think of this about literature. Think of this about languages. Something to remember is talking any language is an experience. Speaking English is a specific experience, and it's a beautiful experience. I love speaking English. And at the same time, the experience of speaking another language, quand on parle français, c'est très différent. It's a very different experience to speak French. Und Deutsch ist auch ganz anders. Very different to speak German. And we can go on through different languages. Can you imagine what it's like to speak Chinese? How about Japanese? How about Kiswahili? How about Arabic? How about Portuguese? We can get a small glimpse of so many aspects of life on this earth simply by learning a new language, by jumping into a culture, by being a bit curious, by stepping outside of our bubble. It's not self-evident because we're often contained in the bubble and thinking, the stuff around me, well, here, let me try to illustrate this. I might be able to do an illustration that makes sense. Let's try something like this. So in the middle of our bubble, we have ourselves. And, oh, hey, Lisa, good to see you. And I'm just saying, of course, exactly, revisiting the experiences. So, yeah, Lisa, I was thinking about you and I was talking about Kiswahili. So this, in yellow, this is our immediate experience, okay? So we know this. But if we step out, all of a sudden, we have access to this. And then as we go further, we have access to more bubbles, more circles. And it's actually possible in this day and age for us to have this experience in the middle, as well as have a glimpse of this, and so on and so forth. When I was in Kenya, I was very fortunate to meet Lisa, who is now here in the chat, to spend time together, to spend time meeting her family, to spend time meeting other people and having a small glimpse of what it was like to be working with Kenyans. So she works in film production and TV production. Seeing what it was like to see a Kenyan TV crew work, and that was amazing. See Kenyan actors work, but also have a sense of what is the life of a Kenyan family like? Gave me a small glimpse, not very much, but a small taster, and thinking, wow, there are many things that are just so different, and it's so exciting and so cool to see how different it is, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful for what I saw in Kenya. I spent time in Kazakhstan. I haven't been to South America yet. I'd love to go. But just be curious about what else is out there and be able to sample a little bit of the things that are out there. And like Lisa, you're saying, we can choose the life we want, what experience we want out of it. We just forget that fact sometimes. Absolutely. And here I'd like to bring you into another reframe. I might be bouncing through a few of these back and forth. So, try this. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine. First of all, close your eyes, breathe deeply. And now imagine that you are on a spaceship that is orbiting Earth. And you can download yourself into any body, anywhere on Earth. And you pick one person, you download yourself into them, and that person goes to an amusement park. You go into the amusement park, and you have, they must exist somewhere, you have different parts of the amusement park that represent different continents, different experiences. And you can go and visit any of these different attractions or different rides, different restaurants. You have different smells, different food, different music, different values, different ways of thinking. And this is the breadth of the human experience. And you can go and pick whatever you want. And objectively, nothing is stopping you. But someone next to you says, you should do this and you should do that, and you shouldn't go there. And you listen to them because they seem to know what they're talking about. So they might tell you, you should just start with this one and stay here. And so you're going, here we go. So you're downloading and you're going to this specific experience and you stay in the specific experience. It's fine. You can stay there and you can sample every other one. It's a bit akin to going to a restaurant, picking a meal and thinking, I have to eat this meal for the rest of my life. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe there are plenty of other meals you can be eating. Maybe the person next to you telling you stay here is telling you, I need you to stay here and watch the rubbish dump. And you're thinking, I could do that, but there's a sunset, there are fireworks, there's a band, there's a parade, there's an exhibit I'd like to see. There are other friends that are coming, I'd like to spend time with them. And the person says, no. You should stay here and look at the rubbish dump. So yeah, we can stay there and look at the rubbish dump for a while, absolutely. Or we can decide to have a look around. What are they going to do to us specifically? They're going to be upset. It's their right to be upset. They have every right to be upset. And we've got every right to not care. What can they do to us? They can be, if they're too annoying, we just get away from them. It's like, if you have, now imagine this, if you have time inside an amusement park and you decide that you want to see a bit of everything, or you go to how about this other reframe? You go to a museum, and this museum has got the 100 most beautiful works of art in the history of humanity. And you decide, I'd like to spend, let's say, 3 hours in the museum. That's about 180 minutes, 3 hours. That's about 2 minutes for each work of art. Just have a bit of a sample of the most mind-blowingly beautiful works of art that were ever created. And then someone next to you starts annoying you and wants to talk to you about their cockroach collection. You can humor them and be polite, but you might also say, I've got 2 minutes for each work of art. I don't want to hear about your cockroach collection. Sorry. Just go away. Go and annoy someone else. We might be too polite for that, but that's not particularly helpful. So this is one thing. We might be too polite for it. But if you were told you've got 2 hours or you've got 3 hours in this museum and then we're going to beam you back up into space, you'd sort of go, I have a sense of urgency. I have to do it because I can't do it later. So what I want to do is important also, as well as what other people want. If 2 people want to go to the exhibit, imagine this, 2 people want to go to the exhibit. One person wants to spend, on average, 2 minutes on each work of art. Another person says, I just want to spend more time on 10 to 20 pieces. I don't mind the others. I just want to do it. Fine. You can discuss if you want to do it together, or just say, well, you do your way, you do it your way, I'll do it my way, and enjoy it. Healthy people want you to enjoy your experience in that museum. Unhealthy people want you to support what they're doing, and they don't care if you get what you want or don't. Most people just say, just enjoy it. You want to go through quickly? That's fine. As long as you get something out of it that works for you. And as long as you don't prevent me from getting something out of it that works for me. So think about it with this work of art. What experience do you want living on this earth? And who is preventing you from having it? And do they really have power over you? Or is it just like someone who wants to show you the cockroach collection when you have a Monet in front of you? We can think of it as works of art. We can think of it also as the experience with reading books, listening to music. I was actually at a concert last night, and they played, I forget the name of the composer. The piece was something about somebody walking through an exhibit and seeing paintings, and it's beautiful. There's this music when he walks through from painting to painting, then different music for each of the paintings. One of them is really cute. The painting describes, or the painting shows like little chicken running around, and you can actually hear it in the music. I'd never noticed or paid attention to it. But I have to say, hearing an orchestra play, hearing the beauty of every single instrument, and how each instrument on its own sounds beautiful. There's the quality of the wood, the quality of the strings. But when you start having not just one instrument, but multiple instruments playing together. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Gina. Absolutely. Picture at an exhibition by Modest Mussorgsky. Everyone, if you haven't listened to it, note it down, look it up, listen to it. It's mind-blowing. So you've got the different instruments, you've got them playing together, you've got the different ones layering together, you've got the wind section, you've got the string section, you've got the horns, you've got some percussion, and just feeling all of it play together, it's mind-blowing, it's humbling. The idea that there's so much beauty, not only in each instrument, but all of it put together, it was amazing. And I had this most bizarre feeling, which is not even sure how to explain it, but the feeling is something like, if I had music on my deathbed, I'd pick that. It would feel like my life was going from picture to picture, and that was the theme that I'd be happy to depart with, especially at the end of it. It was so beautiful. Just the idea of, I'm departing, and this music's coming with me, and I'll be okay. It also makes it, there was a very straight feeling as going, that's fine. If this is the music of my life, then great. And the music is there, it's available. Be it this, be it Beatles, be it all of the musicians that I grew up listening to, and that really moved me. And then we can pick and choose the music we want for the rest of our experience. And just the instruments, the idea, the complexity that goes into making one instrument, and the history of being able to do it, and the idea of even creating instruments and producing it, and creating instruments, and having people learn the instruments and play the instruments. Why? Because they enjoy it for our enjoyment. I also realized, so I play music, none of those more complex instruments, but more like guitar, bass, and things like that. The experience of playing an instrument is such an important part of what it means to be alive. So playing an instrument, you feel a piece of wood resonating against you, and you can express yourself through the instrument, and that's amazing. Singing, feeling your voice vibrate inside your throat and expressing yourself. It's another really important part. Learning to paint, to draw, being outside, doing sport, running, feeling your body. Just all of this is an important part of the human experience that actually came from. So I got reminded of this in the movie Soul, when this other soul who has never been human just runs around and wants the human experience, and realizes, The sunset is amazing. The sounds are amazing. Warm air and the wind. It feels mind-blowing and incredible. So being aware of this is super important. And now back to a reframe when it comes to narcissists, so tying this into it, is we have all of this available. And when we're in a relationship with a toxic person, it's so difficult to enjoy anything. They're like depriving us of this. It's like going to a beautiful concert and having somebody just annoy us, or make us feel cold, or make us feel hot, or just flick our ear constantly. It itself is really annoying, naturally. And also, so it itself is really annoying, but also it is depriving us of the pleasure of these mind-blowing things, and it's not necessary. We're losing out on the experience we can have with a very, very, very precious time. We're losing out for something where we don't gain anything, really. Nothing substantial. Of course, the hidden benefits and the reasons why we do this. But I think it's really important to remember that it's not like we're trading something valuable for something else that's valuable. We're trading something valuable for annoyance. It's really akin to being at this amusement park and watching the trash bin for someone when there's a big party going on, everyone else is having fun, and nobody is actually forcing us to stay there. So we feel that we're obliged to. Why? There's programming behind it. It's the way we're brought up, what parents told us to do, to respect authority, to avoid disagreement. But if we take a step back and look at it, pretty much nothing is forcing us. Of course, we could say, well, it's difficult to leave a toxic relationship because we have, and let's look at it, we have what? It's difficult to leave because you're living together, okay. It's difficult to leave because you have a lot of clothes and you don't know what you do with them, okay. It's difficult to leave with children, that's a bit different. But if you're childless, what is really holding you back? I worked with one person who was terrified of leaving. So childless, but terrified, and didn't have income, and just all of these problems. But after a bit of talking, the person realized, I have money to buy a plane ticket to go somewhere warm. I'm afraid of not being able to pay for accommodation. But then, we discuss things of how can you earn a living, and what is the cheapest accommodation. And the person basically contacted a youth hostel and said, listen, you're probably going to say no, but I'm trying to run away from a pretty toxic relationship. I'm looking for a place where I can have a bed. I don't mind sleeping in a dorm room, where I can be fed. And if I can earn a bit of pocket money, I'm fine. I'm willing to do this for like 2-3 months. I just need to get out. And they said, yeah, okay, sure. We have beds. When do you want to start? And like 48 hours later, the person was gone. One-way ticket, just saying, I'm willing to walk away from everything if only I can get out of this. That is another, yeah, absolutely, Gina, very difficult to leave with 5 children. And then, as you point out, staying is worse. So what are you going to do? It's often, what are we trading on the one hand for the other? Here, let me show another picture I use, because sometimes visualizing this is helpful. There we go. So, the picture, quite simple. Now, and the future. Now, so being in a toxic relationship, we have advantages and we have disadvantages. We did this with a client recently. The disadvantages, you probably know them. It's stressful, it's not fun. There might be, it's demeaning, demoralizing, hurts, all of these things. The future, of course, sounds great. I'd be free, I'd be all of these things. However, I'd suggest that you consider, first of all, what are the advantages you have? And usually, make it a bit cleaner, and usually one of the advantages is that it feels safe, you know what it's like. But consider, what if all of these disadvantages actually were advantages? What if being demoralized just feels familiar, and you don't know what the opposite of being demoralized feels like. What if feeling downtrodden, berated? What if that is just actually an advantage? Because if we don't know if this is okay or what it feels like, it can be so hard to move from one to the other. And also, and this comes up quite often, what happens if we realize that the advantages of changing, if this was possible all along? Then we have to revisit our past and think, why didn't I get that growing up? Like, how come this was not there when I was growing up? And that can be really difficult. I know a lot of people have to revisit the relationship they have with their parents and think, I assumed everything was great and healthy and fantastic, but now I really have to question this. Like, what really was going on when I was growing up, when I was a child? The answer is not always that easy or that comfortable. Of course, our parents did their best and everything. But once we're adults, it's our responsibility. So when we're children walking around an amusement park, sure, we follow the parents. But once we turn 18, we're free. We're free to do whatever we want. And maybe if you don't want to hang out with the parents for a bit, maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't have to please them or coddle them. Maybe they could understand, they would understand, they might choose to understand. This is really key. So exactly like you say, UNA, every choice has consequences. You have to examine which consequences you are prepared to accept. Everything has a price. Just pick the price and then reap the benefits. And something else I'd like to share with you, which is simply, I'm thinking how to do this. We have different times, the past, the present, the future. It can be, assuming in the past there were some things that were pretty tough. Right now we have a question mark, and in the future we have the choice of something great or more of the same. It can be pretty tough to stop looking at the past and decide which future we want. I'd suggest that if we don't look at the future, there's a high likelihood that we're going to be getting more of the same because it feels familiar. I think also it's really tough if we look back and we realize all of this was avoidable. It was not a necessity. We didn't have to be brought up this way. We didn't have to have these experiences. The past we had could have been different. That can be really tough to come to terms with, really tough to accept. So I suggest you view things this way. The past that we had is exactly what we needed to put ourselves in the present, so that for the first time we can pick the future we want. Because in the past there were other alternatives, and we didn't know how to pick them. And what if the reason why we're here on Earth, in this life, is simply to get to this point, to the point where we can choose? What if that's it? What if the ability in the amusement park one day, for the first time, to say, I know you want me to watch the rubbish bin. That's fine. That's your choice. I know you're going to get angry if I don't watch it. And I don't want to watch it, so I'm going to go and look at the penguins. What if that is the most important lesson? Because maybe once you do that, maybe once we do that, maybe that's the time when we can start building the life we want. Maybe that is the point where we can look at the whole map of experiences and just go, what do I want? All of these cool things, I'd like to sample them. How do I do it? Maybe I can't do all of them. Let me pick some. Maybe I'd like to go to Machu Picchu one day. Maybe I'd like to walk around Venice. Maybe I'd like to feel more often what it's like to work out, so when I'm getting older, my body is healthier. Maybe I want to be able to take a deep breath without so much tension in my stomach. Maybe I'd like to go to sleep without anxiety. Maybe I'd like to learn to cook. Maybe I'd like to learn 10 sentences in Japanese. Just have an idea of what Japanese culture is like. Maybe I'd like to read a translation of Dostoevsky, which I recommend. Maybe I'd like to go to an opera or orchestra and listen to music I've never heard before. Maybe I'd like to go to a Ethio jazz company, so Ethiopian jazz concert, so Ethiopian jazz, because it's a nice part of the human experience. Even if I don't like it, at least I've experienced it. And yes, exactly, Gina. What if all the experiences in the past have brought you to your present, so you can choose your future? They have. All the experiences in our past brought us to the present, so we can choose the future. The probability that I'd be live streaming this is close to 0%. The number of completely random occurrences that had to happen to bring me here, it was nearly impossible. And at the same time, it seems that some of these ideas, are helping other people. So I'm very lucky. All of the difficult things from the past, and heaven knows there are quite a few of them. And, well, Lisa knew me when I was going through some of the worst moments. Then, without that, oops. Let's see, I've got a pretty big typo. There we go. All of these things, just correct that. Present. All of these things, they led me here. And yeah, also I see you're saying, well, what if you can't go? There are other ways to experience it. Yeah, the question is sort of, what is available? What can I get? Sure, I'd love to go to Machu Picchu, but you know what? If air travel shuts down and it's impossible, well, at least I've seen videos. At least I've dreamt of it, and there are plenty of other things I can do. I can go out and walk in the snow, and I can have that experience. That's also pretty nice. I can learn some more Spanish. That's also not bad. Learn some more Arabic, more Russian. That's also pretty good. It's sort of, imagine you go to a restaurant with an overwhelming menu, tens of thousands of items, and someone keeps telling you need to eat this. But at one point you realize you can order anything else. Okay, you can't sample everything, but if they narrow it down to say, this next week we only have Thai cuisine. Okay, enjoy that, sample it, see what you have that's available, and enjoy it. Yeah, so I think that's roughly what I wanted to cover. I hope that you've been finding this helpful. Let me know. I'll stay on for a few more minutes. Let me know if you have any questions. Oh yeah, air piano. That's fun. Yeah, it's part of the experience. Using imagination, learning about emotions, learning about cultures, people. There's so much that's available. So many videos online. Then of course experiencing it, connecting with people. I highly recommend reading a bit more, especially the classics. You can probably do a list of what are the 100 books that... okay, here's some other thing. What are the 100 books that would the most increase the quality of your human experience? Or the 100 authors? And, the classics, there's a good reason why they're classics. Everyone should read at least one Shakespeare play, at least one. How about Macbeth? Just to find out what is the fuss all about? Or Othello, what is the fuss really all about? How about Dostoevsky? Russia is the largest country in the world, with one of the richest cultures in the world, and one of the weirdest languages. It doesn't resemble... There's so many things that are completely different. Like, sorry in Russian is izvinite. So I'm used to sorry, désolé, entschuldigung, scusi. Izvinite, it's a completely mind-blowingly different logic. Even the alphabet is different. Well, how about just looking at the Russian alphabet? Oh, if you want to have something to mess around with your mind, look at the Ethiopian alphabet, and also look at the Berber alphabet from the north of Africa. You look at that, it's like, what is this thing? Seriously? Is this human alphabet? They're so cool. They're so beautiful. And then there's also the Thai alphabet's amazing. There's so many amazing alphabets we know nothing about. Arabic, it's beautiful. So just look at it. How about that? How about just opening our minds when it comes to this? And yeah, I was thinking about something else. Okay, yeah, rewind. Here's another thought for you. Imagine that you have 1 year left before you get teleported. So you find out that you're not human, you're just an alien having a human experience. And, oops, that's gone on my face, there we go. You're an alien having a human experience, and you're going to get teleported back to whatever planet you're from. So you've got 1 more year to have this experience. And you think, what do I want? What am I willing to invest money in? Part of it, I'm guessing, would be enjoying really good coffee. Sounds silly, but there we go. Part of it would be having really good headphones so you can enjoy music, because that's a massive part of the experience. Part of it would be thinking, well, how much can I travel in a year? Where would I want to go, under what conditions? Part of it would be having enough sleep, so waking up early enough, or waking up being refreshed, because having bad sleep is catastrophic. If you found out you were an alien having human experience and your partner was a toxic person, and maybe you just realized that they weren't really human, they were just like some NPC out of a video game, you might say, I don't really want you to be ruining my experience anymore, so I'll just get rid of you. And you could then think, in the next year, the next 12 months, what exactly would you want to be able to do? Consider things such as, well, travel, food, music, maybe some classic movies. If you haven't seen Citizen Kane, maybe that's worth seeing, because it's an understanding why was it so important. Music, movies, painting, skills. How about some yoga? Because then you realize, wow, actually it feels really nice when I'm stretching the body. What else? Let's see. Sleep. And so on and so forth. And just think, what would I be willing to invest to get the right experience? If you don't have a good sound system at home, it might be worth investing a bit just to enjoy music better than playing it off your phone. Just think of that. And then you can think, if I'm willing to invest this for a 12-month experience, well, then I get to keep it for the rest of my life for free. And that's not bad. And, so that would be, for example, buying some good earphones or good loudspeakers, or learning to cook, or learning a language. It's just part of the human experience. What I'm trying to do here, incidentally, is if we have you and we have the narcissist on the other side, the toxic person, what I'm doing is I'm putting all the focus back onto you. What experience do you want? It's your life, Yes, you can pay attention to that person, but if they're actively trying to pollute things, they're polluting your experience. Why not find people instead who actually contribute something positive to your experience, and then you can share nice things. There we go. Contribute to each other's experiences, as opposed to someone who's just trying to spread their toxicity with others. And you know what it's like also if you have a friend who's dating a toxic person, they're tougher to be around because there's toxicity in the air. That's pretty important. It's something I realized, by the way. I was in Kazakhstan recently and talking with one of my friends over there, Arman, who I don't think is watching because he doesn't speak much English. But we were able to communicate. I was able to say, you know, I'm just really happy that he's been part of my experience here. He's a great guy. I just like spending time with him because I'm happy that he's been there. You know, he's been in my experience. I've been thinking also about people I was at school with that I don't see very often. Great people, but I'm so happy that I had the childhood with them because it was my path, and they're great people. And so I just feel really grateful when it comes to this. So, main thing here, I'm trying to refocus down on your experience so you can decide what life are you trying to curate for yourself when you move on? Who do you want to share it with? And what can you do to effectively block out toxicity so you don't bring toxicity and put in somebody else's life? You help other people block out the toxicity so it's not spoiling their life, and you can actually have a pretty cool human experience with, there's a lot of yellow here, with positive people, because this life is much nicer. You know, what exactly? I'm sure you can work it out. But I hope that reframes. I hope that's helpful. And it's funny that the more I've been thinking about it, the more this is really sinking in. Something to consider, by the way, is with these reframes, these models, sure, we can't prove that they're true. I mean, maybe they are. We can't prove they're false either. The main question is, do they help us lead a better life? If they do, let's embrace them, if there's no downside. Maybe we are just teleported down from a spaceship to have a human experience. So why not consider it so we have the best human experience possible with the best people possible? And again, if we can learn to decide what experience do we want, maybe that is pretty good. And think about this. You re-teleport back up to the spaceship. And when you're down on Earth, your memory was wiped. And you go back up. And the captain of the spaceship says, "So, did you enjoy it? I brought you all the way here so you could go down and enjoy this amazing, magical planet. Did you enjoy it? Did you have a good time?" And you go, I spent a lot of time looking at the rubbish dump. And then you see the captain go, "Why did you do that exactly? Like, why?" "Well, because this person told me to do it." And the captain goes, "Why did you listen to this person? We know this person is crazy. Obviously it's crazy. Why did you do this? I can't send you back down." There was this little Italian cafe with the most amazing coffee and a nice little restaurant, and there was a fisherman somewhere, and then there was the, crazy Japanese sushi chef, and you didn't try the sushi? Well, no, this person, they gave me a sandwich with something brown in the middle and told me it was chocolate, but it tasted like dog poo. You've been really eating this? Seriously? You spent all of those years down there having that experience? Of all the experiences available, you got the worst one? But they told me that I had to. Okay. Now the weird thing here is, of course, going, I can't believe I went through that. Okay, fine. However, that is the past. Now we're in the present, and we get to decide the future that we want. And remember, we have more freedom than we can imagine in deciding the future. Remember, there are ideas out there that help empower us pick the future we want, and ideas that try to remove our agency so we feel we've got no choice. There are ideas that focus on an internal locus of control and ideas that focus on an external locus of control. The idea being, things that happen to me, are they primarily because of something I did or because of the outside? Some people, for most people, they'll say, well, it's either one or the other. Narcissists will say, good things it's thanks to me, bad things is because of the outside. I would suggest, just take it like this. To what extent is it inside or outside? Somewhere in the middle, somewhere. The question is, am I taking 100% of my responsibility? I'd suggest that you embrace ideas that help you, encourage you to take 100% of your responsibility, but not more. Not 1% more. 100% of your responsibility, not 1% more. Because things can be annoying and unfair. It's a bit like you want to go up to Machu Picchu and you realize that the road has a problem, can't go up. So you're stuck in Cusco. What do? We can sit and complain, or you can go and visit Cusco. That's it. And then you decide what experience you want in Cusco. We don't determine what happens to us. We determine what we make of what happens to us and take 100% responsibility there. I see here, and just going through the comments quickly. Yeah, I can't read anymore. Well, sorry to hear that. However, yeah, you listened to the book. Excellent. Yeah. Fantastic. Courage to be Disliked. Audiobooks. It's better than nothing, right? It's also pretty cool. And you also get the nice voice. Machu Picchu, yeah. Oh, really happy that it's helpful. Yeah, Machu Picchu would be amazing. That'd be a lot of fun to do. And spin some Yak Fiber. That'd be hilarious. A group trip to Machu Picchu. Imagine that, having a group get together and some work up there, Machu Picchu. That'd be amazing. I'd love that. The energy there must be insane. Put it this way: you feel like you might be an NPC. If you're concerned you might be an NPC, you're probably not an NPC. Keep it simple. And yeah, a lot of this is old programming. You know, people did their best. And our parents did their best, and they had limited knowledge. And quite often it's the old thing of the monkeys being locked somewhere in a cage, and one tries to get a banana, they get sprayed with water, so they all learn, don't touch the banana. Then a new batch of monkeys comes in, one wants to get the banana, the others stop them because they're afraid of getting sprayed with water. Then you take out the first batch, and you only have monkeys who've never been sprayed with water, but they all know you shouldn't touch the banana. They don't know why. That talks about corporate culture, but quite a bit about family culture also. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to cover. So, thank you again, everyone, very much for joining. In case you didn't see the video I posted just before, I recommend it. You might enjoy it. We talk about how do we deprogram ourselves from blaming ourselves for what the other person did. We use a bit of rating from 0 to 10. I think it will be interesting tie-in to the previous one, defining what a narcissist is and isn't, and why I don't like the word narcissist. Thanks, everyone, for joining so much. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the chat. And, yeah, you're welcome, Gina. Yeah, a year healing is pretty good. It's pretty good, yeah. Focus on the future. This was, we don't know how much time we have left. Let's enjoy it so we can leave with a smile. It's weird because we can be so afraid of that. But if once we accept it's a fact, we're going to leave at one point. Well, let's make sure we leave with a smile. And let's make sure that we leave thinking, I'm happy for the times I had with great people, and the experiences I had. And, if we can do that, then there's not very much else to be afraid of. So let's do our best. Thank you for everyone. Thank you to everyone. Thank you for joining. Maybe I'll do another one by the end of the year. We'll see. But yeah, take care. Look forward to speaking with you again. And thanks again for the comments.